Hey everybody, this is Dan,
And this is Ron.
and this is an Anomini. If you like our channel, if you like content like this, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment because we're gonna make some people really happy today, and we're probably gonna piss some people off. And you know what? That's just part of that's part of being a public intellectual, right? That talks about Degrassi, the next generation. Right? And so today we're here to talk about a really important thing that needs to be ranked numerically, that needs to have a definitive answer. Ron and I, as some of you who are regular listeners may know, we have a club with a few other people. Every week we watch 3 to 4 episodes of Degrassi. We started out with the 80s Degrassi. We are now almost at the very end of the run of the first cast on Next Generation. So we have watched, I think, close to 160 to somewhere like 175 episodes of Degrassi, I think, so far. I have watched all of
Something
it,
like that.
so there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't watched 175 episodes of Degrassi, listen to 100 episodes of our show first, and then go watch 175 episodes of Degrassi on YouTube. Not dissing Degrassi, but got to look out for number one, right? So today we're talking about who is the worst character of the first wave of Degrassi, the Next Generation. So we're talking about Jimmy Brooks, aka Drake. We're talking about Emma Nelson. We're talking about JT York. We're talking about Toby Isaacs, Ashley Kerwin, or Toby Kerwin. Or no.
Isaacs and Ashley Kerwin. You got
Yeah. Because their parents got married, but they're not actually blood related. Anyway, so we're talking about them. We're talking about Ellie. We're talking about
Paige. Don't forget Paige Michaelchuk.
Paige Michaelchuk. We're talking about Hazel, although we're probably not. Unfortunately, Hazel's gonna probably get the short shrift in this one, just like she got in the real show. And Marco. We're talking about
Liberty.
Yep, Mr. Simpson, the media immersion teacher. Although he's in everything, it seems like.
Right.
He's
Caitlin, Joey.
Yeah, Caitlin, Joey are in this iteration. Spike. We're talking about that crew. We're probably not going to mention all of them by name except what we just did. But anyway, so we have it down to our 5 least favorite characters from, let's call it, the first 7 seasons of Degrassi, the Next Generation.
Yeah.
And so characters who only showed up in Degrassi Junior High or Degrassi High or Degrassi Schools Out do not count. But if they showed up in both, then they're fair game. And so Ron has the list written out. And I think, did we put Kevin Smith on the final list?
We did not. I guess Kevin Smith gets an honorable mention.
Kevin Smith gets an honorable mention, not because, like, without Kevin Smith, I never would have watched Degrassi, right? But as a character on the show, he sucks. Him and Jason Mewes, they come into the high school. Jason Mewes is hitting on high schoolers. Kevin Smith breaks up Joey and Caitlin because Caitlin just bought Joey a house. And then she's like, you know what? I need to throw all of this away to go make out with Kevin Smith.
And we love Kevin Smith.
We love Kevin Smith. The real Kevin Smith. Everybody loves the real Kevin Smith. The Kevin Smith on Degrassi, he gives out some okay advice to the kids, but like beyond that, it's just sort of it's a really weird way to end season 4, especially after the school shooting. You suddenly have
spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. Yeah, there's going to be a spoiler or 2 in this episode. But anyway, yeah. So honorable mention to the fictional Kevin Smith, and also later on in the series when he does show up again, he can only make it to the show in a Zoom call. It's just Jason Mewes, so low commitment. So yeah, so that's our honorable mention.
Right.
So let's get into the real meat of the list.
At number 5, the 5th worst next generation, first wave Degrassi character is Peter.
Peter Stone.
The
So do you want to
principal's
set up
son.
Peter a little bit?
Peter is the principal's son. Peter takes, let's say, provocative, read nude photographs of Manny and then posts them, sends them around so that everyone in the school sees them. And he does it while she's drunk.
Oh yeah, it's a video too, right?
Oh,
Because
video,
he's like,
video, right.
I'm gonna be a big star in Hollywood, and then
Right.
yeah.
Although, and he does that. He takes pictures of Darcy and convinces her to put them on a website.
Yeah, so he repeats a storyline twice within 3 seasons.
Yeah,
No,
usually
two
the best.
seasons, 3 seasons. Or no, he shows up in season 5, so he's been around for 2.5 seasons of what we
Right.
watch.
Then also he and Sean go on a drag race. Wait, who?
Yeah,
actually
Sean hits a guy, and then but they're both kind of culpable because like who the fuck is drag racing on the street?
Right.
Like if you're out there and you're drag racing on public roads, you're endangering people, you're going to get in trouble, and it's just incredibly selfish activity. But an even more selfish activity is when Sean hits the guy who dies, Peter runs away from the scene.
Right. At Sean's
and then
insistence. At Sean's insistence, but still he runs away.
at Sean's insistence, and then this is after or before, I can't remember, but he plants marijuana in Sean's locker using his mother's keys to all the lockers to get Emma to think that he's bad news.
Right. Right.
Which is also kind of crappy. And then there's other crappy stuff he did that I'm blanking on, but
That's plenty.
so in his so I guess we should do cons and then pros, right? Because this is about being negative. If you want to get negative in the comments, then we'll take it as commiseration. So positive, when Emma gets an eating disorder, he handles that pretty well.
Yeah,
he makes peace with Danny, gets help. And then when the whole storyline with Darcy happens, he seems to be a pretty stand-up guy with all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peter is kind of the embodiment of white privilege on the show. He's driving around a $60,000 sports car that his dad got him. And Darcy's attraction to him weirdly starts when she sees his parents arguing. She's like, oh, okay, instead of, this is the product, this is the dysfunctional product of two very dysfunctional people, she decides to feel sorry for him.
Right.
And
we're supposed to feel sorry for him too.
Right, which is very hard to do.
Yeah, because he sucks. But he only sucks fifth most.
Yeah, so he sucks even more for not sucking enough.
Right.
He's
Now who sucks more than Peter? Someone else that Manny was into. At number 4 is Craig.
Craig Manning. So when Craig first shows up on the show at the beginning of season 2, I already knew it was going to happen because I already saw the series, but it was funny watching everybody else in the club thinking that he was a child abductor. It was another Stranger Danger storyline.
Right.
Because when he's introduced, he's been estranged from his sister because of his abusive father, and he basically tries to abduct her and take her to, I want to say, Alberta, somewhere in Canada.
Alberta, Vancouver, maybe
Vancouver, yeah. As opposed to, which, I mean, granted, Vancouver is a place that people come back from on Degrassi, as opposed to Wasaga Beach,
right?
Which is purgatory. That's like, I think that's just a shorthand for contract negotiations on Degrassi.
But then we see what his home life is like, and we see what his dad is like, and his dad is a horrible person. His dad beats him. His dad beats him up.
Yeah.
So we feel bad for him, and he does seem like he's like the cute new guy, right? The cute new guy.
Yeah, all the girls really like him.
Yeah.
And favorably compared to Peter Stone, his home troubles actually are pretty horrific.
Right.
Like they don't really hold a lot back. He's comparable to Rick in the original Degrassi Junior High. Um, but
And that's a big
whatever sympathy we had for this kid, just like he slowly pisses all of it away over the course of the next 5-6 seasons.
Yes.
So where do we even begin? So he knocks Manny up and then is like, oh, we need to have the child because it will repair my whatever. I can't even remember why. He's just like he really wants to have the kid before she gets the abortion.
Yeah, but then he's not actually like helpful in any way.
Yeah,
I mean,
at all.
it's her mom that takes her to get the abortion.
What was it? Ruin Ashley's dad's wedding
Right.
by throwing a giant tantrum in the middle of it because Ashley will not agree to marry him at the tender age of 16 because we are not living in the Middle Ages anymore, even in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then he beats the shit out of Joey Jeremiah, who we've known and loved since Degrassi Junior High. And I forget why it was like he wouldn't let him. Oh, yeah. So Craig steals one of Joey's car, I think, to go to a concert, which is a callback to the Degrassi Junior High episode where Snake and Joey and Wheels drive off with a car and then get in trouble for it. But yeah, so he steals the car and then Joey calls the police on him. And then when he goes home, Joey says, you can't go to the concert because you just fucking stole my car. And then he just savagely beats Joey.
Right.
And then later on, he becomes addicted to cocaine, like in a bad way. I mean, not that there's a good way to become addicted to cocaine, but like in an especially bad way, I think.
Well, but the problem isn't that he was taking cocaine. It's that he tells Ellie that the cocaine belongs to Manny. So he's
right,
now
while he's trying to date both of them.
While he's trying to date both of them, which is also a repeat of when he was with both Manny and Ashley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right,
And worst of all, he gets a recording contract even though he really sucks.
Yeah, and then he releases the CD. When we see the CD, it is, I mean, also just the music isn't that good.
Right.
He's just not, like, everybody's acting like he's like Bob Dylan or something, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I grew up, like, I'm roughly the age that the Degrassi Next Gen kids are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I lived through that period. I do not find his music to be good at all. He's like a third-rate Jason Mraz knockoff or something like that, or like John Mayer knockoff.
And when the CD comes out, it turns out that aren't all the songs about his friends from Degrassi?
Well, it's about girls.
Yeah.
So and they look so lame. Like he writes a song about Ashley called "She Is the Ash," which is like that's like some peak MySpace bullshit right there.
Yeah.
And then what was like "Redheaded for Danger" about Ellie.
Oh, is that what it's called? Okay, yeah.
Redheaded for Danger. That's like so bad, and it just looks like every fucking like awful self-released singer-songwriter album I ever saw on CD Baby back in the day on the artwork. And yeah, but he manages to become a very famous musician in spite of it all.
Yeah. And that's
or because there is no God.
And that's why Craig is number 4 on the suckiest Degrassi Next Generation First Wave Who Sucks the Most list.
And number 3 is going to have to really suck to top that, I think.
Number three is Ellie. And Ellie's only done one thing wrong, Ellie is perfectly fine in different ways. Maybe her story arc isn't that interesting and all that. Maybe she was cooler when she was a little more goth or a little more goth or punk, or not sure exactly how you'd categorize her. But she did one very, very, very
Well, she
bad.
did one unforgivable thing. I think there's two things she did wrong, but I'm going to bring up the second one when we get a little further down in the list because I don't want to spoil anything. Number one, she killed Ferret Bueller. Never forget. Ferret Bueller, for those who have forgotten, the bad people listening, you should feel ashamed of yourself. Ferret Bueller was her pet ferret. When Sean left the apartment they shared, she just let it roam around the apartment, and it chewed on a power line because I don't think they wanted to hide. They didn't want to keep an animal handler on staff on the set, and dies an unceremonious death off camera. Ferret Bueller will never forget you, buddy.
Here's to you, Ferret Bueller.
Here's to you.
Here's a whole glass of water. Mm-mm.
Is like a third of a thing of Diet Coke.
Rest in peace, Ferret. All right. Now at number two, Jessie. Jessie, the newspaper editor.
So yeah, and so that brings us to the second awful thing that Ellie did was bring Jessie into the show. That is almost is not quite as unforgivable as Ferret Bueller, but Jessie just serves no constructive purpose in the show. They never should have left the high school. Every storyline, he doesn't get a backstory. He's just like a douche. Like maybe you knew somebody like that at college. He's like super full of himself. And every time she comes to him with newspaper articles for the college newspaper, he's just like, nice work, Frosh. And he just says Frosh. You can't say freshman. He can't use your name. He's just like Frosh. And of course, she finds him unbelievably attractive because he's got a little bit of that Craig Manning thing going on. Mm-hmm. They date for a long time. He gets a lot of screen time. He makes out with Paige, and then there's almost a cat fight between Paige. Or no, there's almost a fight between Spinner and Jessie over that. And he's just boring. Good Lord. Like when I originally watched the show, and I think this is the one part of the overall show where I'm watching it with you guys for the first time, I could not stand it. I would scroll using the YouTube preview thing to when any scene with Jessie ended. I hated it that much. And so he committed the unforgivable sin of being, and it's not like there's boring characters on the show. Like nobody cares about Toby, right? Like Toby's just sort of there, but he's like inoffensive about it, right? Jessie is boring, obnoxious. He doesn't even have anything to do with the high school. But for some reason, the only time we ever see him in a social position outside of the college newspaper, the only people he seems able to hang out with are high schoolers or people who just graduated from Degrassi High. And granted, that's probably partially to do with the production of a TV show. He also just he's part of the beginning of a bad trend in the history of Degrassi where you go from the original kids, they just look like kids, right? Mm-hmm. And then as it goes on, you get more and more. He looks like he's fucking 40 years old. They dragged him off the set of 90210 or something like that, right? And just he committed the unforgivable sin of being boring and obnoxious about it.
Yeah. All right. So that's Jessie. And at number one, the number one suckiest, worst ever next generation first wave Degrassi character is Emma. Emma sucks.
So Ryan, I think you should take the lead on this one because I got to get all steamed up about number two.
Yeah, I know, I know. I don't know. I'm trying
Nothing
to
like
remember
some
all the
steamy
ways.
number two.
I'm trying to remember all the ways in which Emma sucks. But so Emma is sort of the, I want to say linchpin character, but she's the central character for the first few episodes at least. She's the bridge. She's one of a few bridge. She's the main bridge really between the original series and the new series. Emma is Spike's daughter in the original series. She's the little baby. And
Spike and Shane's daughter, yeah.
Spike and Shane's daughter, right, right. Um, so Spike, who's an unwed teenage mom who's going to high school, now Spike is an adult, and Emma is starting well, middle school, I guess, right, or junior
Yeah, I
high.
think it starts them in 8th grade, yeah, or something
Um,
like that.
so we've got other characters in the original series, but all of them as now as adults, and who are so Caitlin, Spike, Snake, Joey. So they're now the parent the parent and teacher crowd. Emma is kicks off the tween and teens in
And yeah, the next generation pilot is her falling into a stranger danger situation.
right, right, right. Well, Emma Emma has very strong beliefs, and they're good beliefs, right? They're the kind of things
Some
that
of
I
them.
can totally root for. But she is so incredibly self-righteous and self-important and humorless. And later on, it gets worse. She becomes vindictive,
Mm.
and hurts other people because they don't agree with her or she disagrees with them, and they might actually, to some degree, deserve it. But she punishes them in a way and publicly humiliates them in a way that, well, just makes her really sucky.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised because maybe I just wasn't paying as much attention the first time I watched it because I did watch like 500 episodes of it within a 6-month time span. But yeah, I was surprised by just how visceral the reaction of everyone in the club to Emma was. Like just how much, and she is like she's incredibly self-righteous. She's sort of like on like, did you watch Community when it was on?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the Britta, right? She's like what they're making fun of with the Britta character.
Okay. Okay.
She's like
Yeah.
ostensibly to the left, but she basically what she actually wants to do is just be, yeah, self-righteous about everything, vindictive, and like kind of just uh lecture everybody about stuff. um and yeah, and she like um drives her parents crazy. She drive. I mean, the thing is, I'm having a hard time remembering like specifically awful things she did, but I know they exist.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
she flashed her stepdad. That was kind of weird.
Yeah. She's
Um, it's just like a bad vibe, you know.
if you don't fit within Emma's very, very, very thin, rigid worldview, then you're a bad person in her eyes, or you're doing bad things. And the real problem there is, yeah, there's just too many things to list.
Yeah, and she like, well, so like there's that date, like I think her first date with Sean where he's just like picking up garbage for her for like half an hour, and then it turns out that her wallet was in her pocket. Like he's
Oh,
looking
right.
through the garbage to find this wallet that ended up being in her pants the whole time. I'm trying to remember what else.
There are just so many things, and so many of them are.
Well, and when she throws a party
things.
at her house, like she's just cursed, right? As soon as she throws a party at her house, JT gets stabbed. That is the curse of Emma.
If she hadn't thrown the party, JT would live. Yeah, yeah. But that's just all the things.
And she also, like, I mean, I don't know if this is really her fault, but when the whole thing with Rick, when they're doing the build up to Rick doing the school shooting,
Uh-huh.
She's one of the people that, because Rick has this huge crush on her because she's being nice to him.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, I don't like you. You suck. I hate you. And I think that probably had as much to do with pushing him to the school shooting as the like weird kind of Carrie sequence of him getting feathered at the quiz show.
She turns everyone against him, even, anybody that would try to give him at least, some, treat him with some level of humanity, even if they don't like him. She tries to turn everyone against him, and she trips him. Remember, she trips him at the
Yeah,
restaurant.
yeah, and she does like and the thing is she starts out being like, because she wants to think that she's this great person, great humanitarian.
Right.
But the thing is, if you can't follow through on that stuff, you end up creating more problems than you actually solve.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
She slut shames Manny.
if you're one of these characters and you have a disagreement with what we said, we would love to hear from you. Um, Leave it in the comments, and I will go toe to toe with any of you about why you suck. Hit hit like, hit subscribe if you like this. We're coming out with new videos, or at least podcasts. Which, I mean, I say at least podcast. They're long, they're meaty. We're getting great guests on. We're talking about the stuff that really matters in terms of movies. And yeah, and every once in a while we do some fun like this. You got any thoughts about this? Do you think there's a horrible character from the first 7 seasons of Degrassi: The Next Generation that we missed? Leave it in the comments. Hit like, hit subscribe, means a lot because it takes us time and effort to do these videos. And we'll see you at the movies, or we'll see you at the we'll see you on. We're watching you over the internet. I don't know. I still haven't quite nailed down that. Ever since we figured out I was like unconsciously doing the Ebert and Roper at the movies thing.
We're watching you.
We're watching you.
All right. So for all Canadian high school melodrama fans out there, peace.